Today's going to be a quick little review on fractions, decimals, and percents, things you've already seen in the videos and work you've already done in class. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we have our division problem with a decimal, and we want to decide where it's best to place the decimal point. Well, if we use our common sense, we know that 98 divided by 5 is about what? It's about 20, so it has to be less than 20. So where do you think we're going to put our decimal point? Yeah, I'd say there would be the perfect spot. So 19.7. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can do the second two on your own. Okay, so remember, if we're dividing 2 by 4, that's got to be less than 1, right? Because if you're dividing a smaller number by a larger number, the answer is going to be less than 1. So here is your answer. And the decimal point is at 0.49 because it's less than 1. Here we have about 400 divided by 8. So let's think, where are we going to put the decimal point? Well, it can't be here because 500's greater than 400, and if you divide 400 by 8, that's too much. But 5 might be too little, so I'd say the perfect spot would be 50. And here we have multiplication problems, and we're going to do the same thing. So think about it. If you have 15 and you multiply that by 2, you're going to have 30. And this is a little bit over 2. So where would our decimal point have to be? Right here. Because we know the number has to be greater than 30, but 3 would be too little. And the next one, we have a number here that is less than 1. So we know that 1 times 475 would be 475. But we know this is going to be a little less because we're not quite multiplying it by 1. We're multiplying it by a number less than 1. So the correct place to put the decimal point would be right here, because this number is just a little bit less than 475. 42 would be way too little, but 4,000 wouldn't quite make sense either. So you have that there, 422. Once again, we have a number that's just a little bit under 1, so we know that our answer isn't quite going to be as high as 14, but 1 wouldn't make sense either. That's way too small. So I'd say we put it right here. So 12.6. And there's your answer. Okay, well, we've been doing a lot with writing equivalent decimals and percents, so pause the video now and see if you can write an equivalent decimal and a percent for each of these fractions. So 3 out of 100. We know that's 3/100ths in the decimal world, or 3%. And 1/2, that's one we've worked with a lot, pretty easy. 50/100ths, or 5/10ths, and then 50%. And there it goes. Here we have 9 out of 10, so that would be 9/10ths, decimal-wise, and 90%. Remember, because it's not 9 over 100, it's 9 out of 10, so that would be 90%. Here our fraction is out of 100, so this is pretty easy. We have 0.57 or 57/100ths, and then 57%, because remember, percent means out of 100. Here we have some easy fractions as well. When we have fractions that are out of 4, it's easy to think money and think quarters, so what's 1/4? 25 cents or 25/100ths. And then 25%. And then 3/4 would be 75/100ths or 75%. Here the fractions start to get a little more challenging, but I think you guys can handle it. So if we have 3/5, it might be a little easier to transform these fractions into equivalent fractions. Well, I'd say an easy way to do that would be to turn them into fractions out of 10. So this would be 6/10ths. Remember, when making equivalent fractions, when you multiply one number by another number, you have to multiply the top number by the same one. So if you multiply the denominator by 2, you have to do the same to the numerator. This is basically just multiplying it by 1. So we'd get 6/10ths, and then that would be 60 out of 100, or 6/10ths, and then we'd have 60%. Here you can do the same thing. You want to pause the video and try it yourself. So if we turn this into a fraction that's easier to turn into a decimal or percent. We'd get 8/10, and so that would be our decimal. 8/10, 80 out of 100, and then 80%. Here, we want to try and figure out what 1/3 of 90 is. An easier way to do this would to view this number, we want to find 3 equal groups. So, what would 3 equal groups of 90 be? What would go in each one of these? Well, if we divide 90 by 3, we get 30. And 30 plus 30, sorry about my 3's, plus 30 is 90. So, what's one group out of the whole? Well, 30. So, 1/3 of 90 is 30. Why don't you try the next one on your own? And this one's pretty easy. This one would just be 2 groups, or 2/3 of 90. So, that would be 60. Alright, this we can do the same thing. This just means that we want to know what one group out of 5 equal groups of 20 is. So, if we drew a picture for that, how many would go into each of these groups? Well, be about 4. So, what's 1/5 of 20? Just be one of these pieces, right? Because this is the whole and these are the pieces. So our answer is 4. And what about the second one? 4/5 of 20. Well, we know it's going to have to be 4 of these groups, right? And the answer is 16. Okay, 25% of 24. Sometimes it's easier to view percents as fractions. So what's 25% in fraction? It's 1/4. So we want to find 1/4 or 25% of 24. So what's 24 divided by 4? 6. We know that each of these 4 equal groups is going to have 6 in them, because 6 times 4 is 24. And we want to find 1/4, and these are all equal groups. So 1/4 or 25% of 24 is 6, because 6 goes into 24 4 times equally. The next one, we just want to find 75% of 24, or what's that in fraction? 3/4. So we know that we just want 3 of these pieces of the whole group. So that would be 18. See, 6 and then 18, because 6 times 3 is 18. Alright, so 10% of 50 and 30% of 50. Go ahead and pause the video. See if you can do these on your own. Think about it, 10% is just 1 out of 10, and 30% is 3 out of 10. Or you could look at it 10 out of 100, 30 out of 100. But let's go back to this. So 10% of 50, or 1/10 of 50. You got it? 5, because we know that it takes 10 goes into 50 5 different times. So 1/10 or 10% of 50 is 5. 3/10 of 50. Well, if we know that 1/10 is 5, can't we just multiply 5 times 3 and get our answer of 15? Good job. And tomorrow in class we'll just be doing more of this type of work and putting it into real world situations with word problems and things like that. So I hope this helped you.